Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new video episode of iGaming Sales Heroes video interviews. I'm here today. I'm very happy to here today with Simon Westbury from Digitain, head of sales. Hi, Simon.
Hi, Domenico. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honoured. I'm not sure I'm a sales hero, but if anyone is, interested to hear about my career and what we've done, I'm grateful for the invitation.
But we will find out. I'm quite sure you are, Simon, to be honest.
If I succeed, I'll put my Superman outfit on. You provided it to me, so I'll
Good.
put that on.
Simon, I would really love to start this conversation asking, how did you start your career in sales?
Mhm.
Why sales? And if you can give a little bit of introduction about yourself, if you please.
Of course. In answer to the first question, how did I end up in sales? The honest answer is by accident.
Okay.
A bit of a long story. I did my MBA in Middle East politics, and part of that MBA was a thesis, and I spent 6 months writing that thesis in Syria, which is obviously on the news for the wrong reasons at the time. At this time, I ended up having a little bit of a conflict, and let's just say left Syria under a cloud.
Okay.
But because of that, my dream of working for the Foreign Office or the British government was somewhat diminished. I think I sat in one interview and was told, as you're known to a foreign intelligence service, you can't work for the British government. So at 25, my dreams were dashed, and I was like, well, what can I do? And I ended up going into conference organisation and worked for a number of conference companies because I believe that gave me a good understanding of business. And also sales was part of the role. I did many conferences. I lived in Dubai for a bit doing oil and gas conferences. I worked in London and ended up working for a company called Terrapin. And I think it was a Tuesday afternoon one day. My managing director called me in and said, Simon, this guy's resigned. Could you look at taking on the Gaming Executive Summit project we want you to launch? I was like, I know nothing about gaming. I'd love to give it a go. And he said, great, Deutsche Bank are coming in. They're the lead sponsors. You've got to prepare in an hour. Well, I sat in front of this guy from Deutsche Bank. He's got his driver outside. And those of us who worked in conferencing know they're not always the most glamorous of offices. And he said, I said, would you like a drink? And he said, so well, when you go to Deutsche Bank's office, you get a lovely glass bottle. I had to give him a glass of water in this plastic beaker, which he kind of took graciously but looked surprised. So as part of my conference experience, you either did conference production or the sales of the conference. But I ended up doing both in my first role, and I was lucky enough to do both. And I think everything you do, even if you're producing a conference, it's selling the idea and it's selling the concept. So I think people as a career are scared to say, I'm a salesman. It's viewed a little bit, oh, you're a salesman. But in life, everything we do is selling.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and also, I think that your role there, organizing expos, actually gave you the chance to rapidly increase the number of contacts because, of course,
correct.
Everybody wanted to attend those conferences. So you had the chance to start building your iGaming network, which probably gave you some advantage later on during your career.
100%. I think, look, the one thing conferences did give me was an ability to look at different industries. Maybe this is arrogant, but I always viewed conferences as a step in my career to go into an industry. And I remember it was in the Intercontinental Hotel when I first did the gaming summit. We had Bwin there, we had Tom Hall there, who's obviously an industry figure, Roger Withers, and we're all at the bar. And this story was funnier at the time. It doesn't always come across as funny as it was. But Roger Withers was there with a guy called Warwick Bartlett. And they're all ordering drinks. And I was there going, right, this is amazing. This is my industry. Everyone's young, bar Roger, forgive me. They're young, they're energetic, they're making money. This is fun. And when you compare that to a pension fund world event in Germany, there's a totally different vibe. So I go into the bar and Roger's ordering everyone a drink. Everyone. Everyone's like, I have a free drink. And then Roger, they give the room, and then Roger just puts it on Warwick's room, signs for it, and walks away. Well, lets Warwick sign for it and walks away. Warwick he took it in good spirit, but again, that showed me something about the industry, that you could order a drink for about 100 people, and someone's not going to worry about signing it off. So That's kind of what convinced me on gaming. In sales, it was, by accident through conferencing. But, that was as far back as 2008 now, I believe. And I would say sales is kaleidoscopic, that it's always changing and the industry is always changing. When we look at GS in 2007, as it was, poker was a big discussion point. Yes. Now, I understand with COVID, poker's become relevant again. But, for the last number of years, poker hasn't been relevant to people.
I agree. Okay, yes, understand. So let's jump then to the next question, which is going to be, okay, you then became a salesperson by accident. And I believe that during these years, you developed yourself, you studied a little bit to increase your expertise. So what is, in reality, the most challenging task that you find while working on your daily activities? Is there any aspects of your daily activities that it's giving you more challenges compared to some other ones?
Yeah, I think at Digitain, I'm leading a sales team that's growing and expanding, both in Armenia and regionally. And I think I was talking to someone about this in preparation for our discussion. And I think when you start to lead a team, and I've led teams now going back to about 2013, it's a bit like when you have your first baby. No one tells you how to do it, but I have a group of people looking at me for guidance or understanding. So part of this relates to me. I think salespeople in general are driven, they're energetic, they're competitive, they want to succeed. That's great. But when you're in a corporate environment leading a team and trying to achieve objectives, the biggest thing for me, and it's a personal thing, is learning patience. And my boss at the moment in Suren, and everyone knows Suren, he has the hardest job in gaming at the moment because he has to teach me patience. So if any of you see him at a trade show, please buy him a drink. But allied with the patience is controlling emotion. I'm an emotional guy, I know that. But when you are leading the team, you have to control the emotion.
Yes.
Because otherwise that emotion reflects on them. And it relates to something a sales director said to me very early in my career. Simon, when you're in a good mood, you influence a whole sales team. But when you're in a bad mood, again, you influence
get a day off.
Yeah, he did suggest actually having a padded room for me just by myself when I was in a bad thing. But on a daily basis, it's understanding the tools I can employ to control emotion and display patience. And expanding on that, in sales, we want everything instantly. We want it now. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at leading the team and you're looking at product development and meeting the needs of the team, that isn't instant. And as a company, Digitain's over 1,700 people. I need to develop soft skills through patience to influence in a positive manner, and that's been a big skill to me to learn. And again, it touches on something my old tutor at university told me. We were doing a mock debate on Palestine and Israel. You can imagine how heated that got. Yes. And he was saying to me, look, Simon, if you take this bit from that argument and that bit, combine the two, then all of a sudden there's a workable solution. Now, I'm not talking about geopolitics there, but when I sit in meetings, over time I've evolved to say, it's not my way or no way. How can we work together? And it's not about right or wrong.
Yes, yes, it's never, yes.
I've always employed, I believe, a consultative sales approach. And that's understanding the customer's needs, not selling on price. And I think it's taking those skills and leading the team. As I say, when you have a team that, first time you manage someone, it's like you get the baby. But now I don't want to say I've got 6 babies at the moment that's expanding because that's disingenuous to the team. But I have 6 people that look to me for leadership, and I have to interact with other departments.
I understand. And then the next question is going to be for me, because I'm really interested about this, how you manage to overcome and to nurture actually your patience, how you became more patient compared to what you were before, and what tools did you use, what strategies did you use, because this could be very useful for salespeople that maybe are moving right now to roles where they will have to lead other salespeople.
No, I think there's certain skills I've learned. The first one I did, which was taught to me by Chris Davis, who I work with at Vsofka, he said, Simon, if you get an email that annoys you, just go into your draft email. For God's sake, don't put anyone in it, and just type what you want to type.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found that gets out all the emotion, that gets out all of the anger. I leave it for half an hour, and then I come back, and that email's emotion. It's but what I'm trying to say is hidden in that email. So actually, I then take that email and construct it, and maybe dumb it down or soften it, so then the message is created. I mean, it's not to act on your first instinct, because that is awful. I mean, and the other lesson I've learned, as some of the industry now, I can't say much, I did have a brother who had special needs. And when you see people go through that level of suffering, the big challenge I had to understand was, if my brother was in hospital or had severe issues, just because, and I give an example from university, a friend was worried about their student loan. I couldn't compute that in my head, how that was important when my brother was ill. But what I've learned is take myself out of my situation and understand someone not paying their student loan is as important to them as my brother being ill. You have to understand they're not in your situation. Yes. So I try and take that into business. And, for example, I've just been on a call with one of my colleagues saying, Simon, I need this approved now. Right, the process is the team have 5 days to approve it. Let's step back. Let's see what we can do, understanding that our colleagues have 5 days. They're only 2 days in. Let's understand and work together. And let's take that, because passion and emotion can come across as aggression. Take that out and just work on, actually say, guys, we know you're busy, but the partner's really pushing us. The benefit to Digitain is this. Can we work on this? So the patience is removing the emotion in a way.
I totally agree, Simon.
I'm sure you have it yourself. I mean,
I learned this from my experience as well, because when I was younger, I'm also, you can add on top of that I am Mediterranean. So I have the Mediterranean attitude, which is very passionate. So at the beginning, I was really passionate in sending my emails, and I made some disasters. But I'm very happy because I had the opportunity to learn from those mistakes. And now I know, and I do exactly what you do. I prepare the email, I leave it in draft, I leave it there for 1 hour. After that, I come back, I read it again, and I most probably 95% of the time I delete it and create a new one from scratch. So
yeah. And I think also another thing I'm trying to teach the team a lot is, we've got different levels within the team. Some guys have got 5 years experience and some guys have got less. I think, as a leader, it's always important to imagine, just because something's easy to you, it's not easy to someone else. Again, I've struggled with that, but I've learned. And I think also when you're working, everyone wants to succeed. It's understanding the individual behind, the mask, yes, for want of a better phrase. And I think one thing I'm trying to teach the team that we lead is to be CEO of your own desk, right? Time is a limitation for everyone. And I try and say to people, come to me with solutions. Because when I started in gaming, that's what I was encouraged to do. What I found, that not in Digitain, but in previous roles, is people come to you with the problem and look at you and go, well, what do I do? Well, actually, I might know the solution, but for your own development, and the team will always tell you, oh, Simon, he's going on about our own personal development. Think about it, come to me with a solution. It might not be a solution I agree with, but at least you've thought about it.
At least it's something, yes.
And I think, I'm not going to say I'm old now, but there's a generational thing there where people come to me and go, well, the SLA says this, what do I do? Well, actually, the SLA says that, but I always believe if you get to the point of a contract and the wording, you've lost. There's a spirit of the contract and the wording of the contract, and I always try and act within the spirit of the contract.
Yes, totally. It's very important to have this approach. In general, I believe in life, not only related to our job, not only related to the industry, but in general. Good, very good. So then I'm very curious to know about what was your most challenging negotiation that you handled and how.
Well, there's many challenges.
What you can disclose.
No, of course. I mean, I think I think I'm going to transport ourselves back to 9 years now, to 2011. And the reason this deal comes about is Facebook Memories is a great thing. And 9 years ago yesterday, I put on my Facebook, I was young and naive at that point, I have to give a presentation today. It's either going to be a pay rise or my P45. Now, I laugh because my colleagues were messaging me about it yesterday, but I think ex-colleagues, I think what I'll say on that was it was a deal with Betfair. I was with Amaya. Amaya had just bought Chartwell. Obviously, Playtech had taken Betfair on the casino tab off Chartwell. I needed to get us back into Betfair. Now, there was a deal straight head-to-head between us and NetEnt to go on the games tab. The reason that was challenging, one, was because I had to deal with Betfair, who had no belief really in our product post being taken off the casino. Mm-hmm. Two, they were looking at a new, I think it was the Oxy integration with OpenBet, and they had one, so we had to win that. Two, they wanted HTML5 mobile, which I didn't have.
At that time, it was pretty rare.
And I was going against NetEnt. But it wasn't just the external challenge, there was the internal challenge, because Amira had just bought Chartwell. I think we were looking at buying crypto at that time, Cryptologic as it was, and we had on-game in the pipeline. Chartwell had always been a content provider of slots and table games. Well, actually, the reason Amaya and David Bazoff confirmed this to me was that he bought Chartwell was for our platform, which was called the Chartwell Games platform. So the presentation I gave internally, which people still laugh about, my colleague Adam Daniel was in Uganda, and it was the days of BlackBerry Messenger, and he just sent me a simple one-liner, do you still have a job? Which I did. But on the CGP, I had to, and it was a hard interview, a hard presentation, because I had David Bazoff there. I was brought in the head of product, and I basically had to say our slot product's not very good, and we need to focus on being a platform, which was a big thing to do.
Yes.
It was helped that the head of internal security or something, I can't remember, Clinton came and he just put on NetEnt's Jack and the Beanstalk at the time. And then obviously you could see the difference between Chartwell and NetEnt slots, so the argument was there. But then I still had to convince Betfair. So I was convincing a company that was growing with internal, when you grow by acquisition, there's always internal politics. I think we all know that. And I remember saying to David at the time, we can't become a GTech, which at that point was lots of different companies. And David said something very interesting to me. I remember it was in the bar in Calgary. Simon, it's not that we behave like GTech, it's our colleagues that don't behave like GTech. If we act together in collegiate and in friendship, we will get there. And I thought that was an interesting point. But back to the deal, the way I got it done was putting a financial penalty in if we didn't get the HTML5 content, which David supported me in. And also at that time, the industry was moving away from the big slot providers a little bit. And there was some, I call them guys in their bedroom, that's disingenuous. But there was guys leaving NetEnt, and I think that's how Quickspin came about at that time, who were developing great content but couldn't afford the certification, couldn't afford the distribution. So I said to Betfair, you guys know content, a guy called Ben who's at Green Jay Games now, I believe, and good guy, still knows great content. His flicking of the coin game still amuses me, and it's a great game. I said to him, you know content better than me, I'm the salesman. If I give Betfair 3 integrations per year of boutique content, how does that work for you? And he said, as long as we can have a period of exclusivity on it, yeah, that's great. So it was understanding Betfair's needs, overcoming the reputational issue of Chartwell, but also swinging the whole Chartwell business behind going from a service provider, a slot provider, to a platform provider. So that one resonates more than most at the moment, maybe because of Facebook memory, I don't know, but that one is always spoken about amongst friends when we meet. So I'll put that one to you.
Okay, it's actually a very good example, because I believe that, in general, you see, let's say, how a salesperson is good with his job when he has to deal with this kind of opportunities, complex opportunities, because it's pretty simple when a customer has a straightforward need. You accomplish that because you already provide the solution. The price, it's never, in my opinion, an obstacle, if there is let's say the willing from both parties to make the deal. But then the real challenge comes when the politics starts coming in, when you are facing competitors that are bigger and probably sometimes more equipped than you, and then you see then the real difference between, let's say, sales heroes and other ones.
I'll go with successful salespeople. I mean, I think you make a good point there in terms of politics. Politics, I try and tell the guys, and this comes back to leading the team again, politics kills business, right? Business is quite simple in my view. Stay out of the politics. Everyone's got an opinion, we know that. Right? But politics can really kill what we do. And actually one thing I've learned as a leader, I was taught as a leader, it was my way, this is how we're going to do it. I have learned over time to speak to the team. And what I say to them is, guys, I might not always agree with you. I might not even move forward with your idea, but I will always listen to you. Now, I think that's another key learning. One, it removes politics to a point because they've always got someone to talk to rather than speak to their colleague. And two, they feel valued. As long as they are emotionally intelligent enough to understand that they might not always be right or I might not always accept their idea, then that's progress. And I think emotional intelligence is something that's always hard to come by. When we talk about passion, emotion, I'm not perfect at it. I mean, you can speak to Soren. I know you know him. I mean, some of the phone calls he's had over the last 6 months, I feel I should apologise to him. But as long as you're continually trying to improve.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go then to the next question, because you told me that, okay, you started by accident and then you spent some time developing yourself as a leader, as a sales, head of sales, and as a salesperson in general. Did you read any book? What are your favorite sales books that you can suggest to the people that are listening?
I'll be honest, I love reading, but I don't read sales books. And that's not to not answer the question, because I have an answer to the question. As I said before, you learn your own style. Books, I like reading, but sales books don't work for me. So what I've done over my career, and speaking recently in particular, with lockdown and everything that we've gone through, there's been a lot of good sports documentaries on. So, I mean, everyone talks about The Last Dance. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but it was a very interesting series. And Michael Jordan said something that really has resonated with me. He says, you are only a success at the point of your last success. So that's brilliant, right? Because I can go and do the biggest deal in the world tomorrow with my team. But where's the success? It's in closing the deal. Yes, we go and celebrate, but the success is done at that point.
Yes.
Which leads me to another point. To me, and I've been lucky enough to be around professional sports people, talking about, and I'll expand on that in a minute, but talking about the sports documentaries I've been watching, I know it might not be relevant to you, but I still love cricket. And there's a great series on, I think it's Amazon, called The Test, which follows the Australian even, Test side from the controversy of cheating, to put it in simple terms, to building a team to retain the Ashes, which is the biggest prize in cricket. Now, that was very interesting to see how the team manager managed the team, what tools he used. Then there's another thing called Sunderland Till I Die, which is on Netflix, which is about the running of a football club and the changing of the mentality. The football club had been disengaged from the fans. It had just become used to the owner writing a check. How that changed that business mentality was interesting to me.
What I think it impressed me, I was discussing this a couple of days ago with some Spanish people, that I was, you see the difference between successful sports players and average ones. There was, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, the game for Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. And they were 0-0, there was penalty last minute. And Sergio Ramos was about to score it. Casemiro was standing in the center of the field praying that penalty will go through. And Casemiro is a guy who won everything in his careers. He won championships, he won different trophies, and no matter what he achieved in the past, he's still with his mind focused on the next step, on the next trophy, on the next challenge. And you clearly see the difference that these players make when then it's time to play a final, it's time to play an important match. So really and truly, I agree with you, and I saw as well The Last Dance, which it was amazing for me. Even though, as you, I'm not a big fan of basketball, you really can understand why some people are successful compared to others. And we believe, that these guys, they're getting a lot of money, but for them, money is not important. For them, it's just a commodity. But the mentality is what sets them as successful people. This is amazing.
You make an amazing point there. And I mean, I think that, which I was talking about Sunderland Till I Die, which was a great, documentary, but living in Sheffield and having, I can't say I support Sheffield United, but being around the club for a number of years before I joined Digitain, to see the work that Chris Wilder's done in building the mentality of the players, reconnecting with the fans, amazing. And I think when we talk about this mentality, it really interests me. And I'm lucky enough to have some ex-professional football players who played for United as my friend. One of them, he always says I can quote him, so I will mention him at this point. He's not one of the most famous players, but he was a big player for Sheffield United in the early 90s in Tony Agana.
Mm-hmm.
I still meet him every month before lockdown for dinner, and we discuss. He told me some very important things. He said, when Sheffield United got promoted to the Championship, I was like, I think they're going to struggle, Tony. And he said, Simon, sport is about momentum. Sheffield United have the momentum. So what I've learned from that, and during COVID, I said to the team, guys, it's hard work, but we need to build momentum into what we're doing. And they looked at me a little bit like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, but when you start pulling a plane, if it's 6 of you, it's very hard at the beginning, maybe more than 6. But once the wheels start moving, that momentum is easy to carry forward.
Yes. So
Sheffield United went from the Championship to the Premier League now, and Digitain in the last 3 months, and touch wood, we do it again this month. We've set 4 record sales months for the company. That is truly, in my view, down to momentum. But the momentum comes from the hard work.
Yes.
And I think this is another interesting discussion. Everyone has talent. And, Tony, who I mentioned earlier, said there's no such thing as talent. It's hard work. My view is everyone has a level of talent. Like Tony had a natural level of a talent of football above mine.
Mm-hmm.
But also don't forget the hard work. When you talk about Casemiro, you talk about Ramos, you talk about Ronaldo. These guys, Ronaldo as an example, when he started, look how he's grown.
Yes.
I think the different levels of talent doesn't matter unless you see the hard work. And I know people...
I believe that we can make an example that you always do is difference between Messi and Ronaldo. Messi is talent. Ronaldo is built to be successful.
Mm-hmm. I think what I would say on Messi, not to get into Real Madrid, Barcelona and offend anyone, there is a level of talent and hard work that goes to
it. Yes, of course, if you want to reach that level. But for example, I'm a Juventus fan, so I can say that Chiellini most probably is now, or was until a couple of years ago, one of the best defenders in the world. Mm-hmm. But he reached that level not because he was talent, because he was talent in his mind to push on the hard work to reach that level. Because his feet are terrible.
I mean, as a Spurs fan, I'd say the same about Harry Kane. If you look at his loan, where he's got talent, that's not undeniable. You can't become a professional football player unless you have talent. But what takes it to the next level is that hard work. And I think once you put the work in, the momentum comes. And I always say hard work brings momentum, and it also brings you that little bit of luck, because there's always an element of luck in something.
Yes.
But if you don't put the hard work and you don't get the momentum, you don't get the luck.
It's true. Or you cannot convert that luck.
Indeed.
If
You don't have the opportunity.
And if you did not build the momentum, even if you get that moment of luck, you will not manage to convert it, and you will call it unluck.
And I think in sales, like I'm not being rude to other departments in any company, but like sales is easy to judge in terms of we have targets, we have numbers.
Yes.
But the flip side of that, and it is pressure, is, some of the commission I paid out in the last month, I'm delighted. These guys have earned good commission. Now they're going to get used to that level of commission, hopefully, and keep the momentum to keep working hard.
Yes. It's a combination. It's a combination of factors. Absolutely, Simon. So to complete our conversation, I then ask you. Oh, I think we touched already some suggestions, some points for the audience here. But do you have any sales tip or any suggestion for our listeners that wants to start their career in sales, or they want to start they are moving their career to the next level in our industry? Do you have any advice for them?
That's a hard one, because obviously there's many individuals and there's guys that I can think of that, like, yeah, that guy could do this, that guy could do that. I think everything you do in sales is driven by passion. You've obviously got a passion to do this. Now, a friend of mine at university said to me once, passion is the currency of life, spend it wisely. What do I mean by that? I won't lie, I think most people in the industry know when I started, I probably partied a little bit too much and I grew a reputation to do that. Once you have that reputation, it's quite hard to change it, and it's probably taken 10 years of hard work to change that. So I think live in the present, always have an eye on the future and learn from the past would be what I'd say. And always develop. And, there's no right answer to anything. You will develop your own style. You will develop your own, management techniques. But what I would always say, and I've learned this lately, is don't be afraid to listen. Don't be afraid to apologize. But also don't be afraid to make a decision.
A wrong decision is better than a no decision at all.
Yeah, and I think for the guys that are starting out, really, I was going to say a saying, I can't say it because it's been recorded. What I'd say is, when you're young and you're in this industry, don't be scared to have an opinion. Don't be scared to come with solutions. Don't just keep coming with problems. At least show that you've thought, as we discussed, that this might be a way forward, because that actually helps you grow and helps you think about, how you can solve a problem for your boss. And the other advice I always say is don't hide behind email. Don't hide behind Teams or whatever. Get on the phone to people. When I started in sales, my calls were recorded. I had to do 2.5 hours a day on cold calling. Build that relationship with people. And
yes,
most people will take a phone call.
It's true. Simon, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed.
Do I get the Superman outfit on? Did I pass?
This conversation. And guys, subscribe to the channel. And thank you again, Simon. We speak soon.
No problem. And please do support this channel. It's a fantastic effort. And it's good to see others in the industry taking this forward and actually sharing the expertise. One thing from the industry is everyone's open, and that's helped develop my career. So this is a great initiative.
Thank you again, Simon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.